Alright, everyone. Welcome back to another Watch and Talk. And just want to say thank you guys for tuning into these ones because I really enjoy them. And as you guys know, I use this time to just kind of share my thoughts on different topics and ideas and things that come to my mind. And I think the people that tune into these Watch and Talks are very in tune with just having deep conversations. I don't know. I'm a huge believer that you gotta hang out with people that push you to think outside your common beliefs. Not the same people that are constantly um, reinforcing your beliefs one way or another, or if you just feed yourself the same information. I think that being open to listening to different conversations and just listening to different conversations, be exposed to different conversations, it's healthy in a way. Um, and I mean, if you don't like this type of conversations, maybe this one, maybe you'll like the next one, maybe you won't like the next one. Today's topic that I really wanted to discuss is gentrification. Gentrification is, the idea, the definition is where urban, poor communities, um, they're they may be displaced by wealthier, higher earning individuals coming to that community, and you know, those wealthier individuals now set up shop and they create businesses, etc., etc. And rents go up, housing goes up, and then those same individuals that were there lower economically can no longer live there, and so now they have to kind of move out to further areas or quote unquote other poor communities, and most of the time is um, not the city anymore. Now, why do I think of gentrification? I think it derived from um, seeing different. Well, first of all, I think part of the reason why my wife and I like to go to different coffee shops, and we'll drive 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hours to just for a coffee shop. Ask me about coffee, I have no idea. I always get chai lattes, so that's my thing. I'm in my chai latte quest. But we found ourselves going to very bougie, places. Or if you don't know what bougie is, or if I mispronounce it, very expensive, overpriced coffees. Usually served by baristas with tattoos and very opinionated, and I'm just being stereotypical, but no, I mean just very laid back people. I would say, and younger. And like I said, the overpriced coffee, no, that I'm not being exaggerating. It is overpriced coffee, but they're really like laid back. I wouldn't necessarily say liberal, because I don't think it goes hand in hand. I know our favorite coffee shop here in where we live, the owners are very conservative, and they made themselves very, they made their point very loudly when this whole shutdown happened, and we had the former president, wanting to reopen the country. So it's not necessarily conservative. It's not necessarily a liberal thing, but it is a sense of a higher earning set of people moving into a city or a area, urban area, where at one point the community was not taken care of. And I say that the community wasn't taken care of, I think mostly because the community doesn't speak up for themselves. And what do I mean by that? Like, I'll give you guys an example. Downtown LA right now is, you know, not downtown LA per se, where the big buildings and the big buildings that you guys all see, but the outskirts of that, very immediate outskirts. For instance, the art district. That's where Magnus Walker has his shop, and there's you know so many other businesses that now have established, and that that's home for them. And at one point, that was run. I mean, it's still 2 miles away. There's a whole bunch of homeless, but in that area they were homeless, and then magically, there's no homeless there. How did that happen? The homeless all said, "Let me get up and walk away because they're buying." No, that's called gentrification. They start mandating people not to be there. They start pushing homeless and smaller businesses that were once there out of there by raising passing policies and raising either rent or whatever the case may be. and that's how the set of new people move in. And it was interesting for me because the reason it came about is my wife and I went to this street called 4th Street in Santa Ana, California, and it's in Orange County, where we live, and nearby where we live, and we decided to go to 4th Street. Now, 4th Street, I grew up on 4th Street, going there like maybe once a month, and it was full of Hispanic stuff. I mean, quinceañeras, weddings, birthdays, anything. That was the street. You booked the venue there, and you take the pictures there, and you got the tuxedo there. Like, it was all in one shop. I mean, you needed shoes. That was a place to be. Outside vendors. Some other illegal stuff I won't get into that was there. And you knew you could go there and get all that stuff. And um, Mexican spots to go eat. They had little swamis inside little the buildings, and that was a spot to be, man. Like that was where you could get anything and everything. It was a place to be, and I hadn't been there in a long time. And again, our thing is to just look up coffee shops, and so I said, just look up a coffee shop. Okay. So she's like, I found this one. It's in 4th Street, and I was in 4th Street. Interesting. Okay, well, let's go. And I had seen the movement. I had seen the change. A couple of businesses that I grew up seeing there were no longer there. Now they put a burger joint. It was like an expensive burger joint, not a McDonald's, but like a $18 burger type of place. And I never went there. I think because of the price or whatever the case may be. But anyways, we end up getting to the place. We get this coffee, and they try to incorporate like this Hispanic thing to it, coffee. And I was like, huh. I tried their Mexican chocolate coffee. It was good. Nothing special about it, but it was good. And as I sat there, as my wife, I was the chubs outside, and she was ordering. I sat there, and then I was getting hungry, as always. Your boy always gets hungry. And there's a taqueria, where they sell tacos. Taqueria Jalisco, or Guadalajara. Taqueria Guadalajara, sorry. So I was like, let me try some tacos of Guadalajara. And so my wife gets out, and I said, hey, I'm gonna, let's get some tacos from there. She goes, I'm not hungry, you can get it. I was like, no problem. So I call in the order, and I wait like 5 minutes. And then I walk over, I get there, I'm like, hey, I called in an order for 4 tacos. Actually, 4 tacos. And they're like, oh, okay, and then they ring me up. And then I'm standing there, and obviously my order hadn't been started. And I was like, what the hell, man? Okay. And then I'm just observing. I legit forgot about the food. The music that was playing was not, it was in English. The colors that they used for that restaurant was completely different. It was a different experience, to say the least. It wasn't a taqueria I was used to. And then they took forever. The guy was, joking around with his coworkers, and I didn't say anything. I wasn't upset. I was legit just taking in the moment, like, holy crap, how the hell is this place gonna survive? Anyways, get the food. A couple minutes later, I go outside. I tell my wife that place is not gonna survive, and she goes, "Why?" I'm like, "Well, the service was slow. When I got there, the food hadn't been, ready. It's 4 freaking tacos. Like, I mean, it wasn't even, And I waited 5 minutes, just to ensure that they would get started. The place was empty, and then she tells me, she goes, "Well, you're not their demographic," and I was like, "What do you mean?" She goes, you are expecting a traditional a taqueria where the guys are moving quick and they get in and out. Let's go, come on. And she goes, yeah, like, this is a very bougie place now. And don't take this offense, if you're white, but she said for white people they think that that's experience. So they're gonna go to that place because maybe they feel safe, they feel comfortable ordering there. The music that they're listening to is in their language and they understand it. And so when they go in, they're not gonna say tacos al pastor. They're gonna say tacos al pastor, and they're gonna be like, oh, this is great al pastor, or this is great carnitas asadas, instead of carnitas asadas the way you order. And I was like, huh. So she goes, yeah, that's part of gentrification. I mean, look around, like where are all the Hispanic places? By the way, I do apologize for the screen being dirty. I try to catch it afterwards. And I was like, well, so it caught me by surprise because I know what it is. I know gentrification. There's a show on Netflix called Gentrified or something like that. I didn't watch it, and mostly because my wife and I are very like the stereotypes. We kind of walk away from those, so we just don't watch those shows. But anyways, it caught my attention. So we had a long, conversation on the way home, and I was like, well, is it a good thing or a bad thing? She says, depends. It depends what you're trying to do. It depends who you are. It depends what the mission is. Because one, Fourth Street wasn't. It's not that it was dangerous, but it wasn't the cleanest. There was a lot of businesses, Hispanic businesses, and then it was a dirty. I guess I would say, but nobody would in their right mind would even live there. Very few people actually wanted to live there. And then we started seeing all these different buildings get built, and then these breweries and coffee shops and arcades, breweries, bars, and it started changing. And then my wife, she's like, well, let me see if I can find some info, because I remember seeing something about Fourth Street specifically. And I said, what? She goes, yeah, I remember seeing an article that said that they had passed a law that allow the city or people, political people, to raise their rent 10 years from that year that it got passed. So she looked it up, and sure enough, in 2010, there was a policy in that county that they want to raise the rents for people that live and people that had businesses in that area, 4th Street. But it was going to take 10 years. So in 10 years they were going to up the rents, and it kind of got out of control. And I was like, no freaking way. She goes, yes, now we're 2021. That's the reason why there was only like a handful of businesses that I could remember from that time. She goes, that's policy. That's the way it works. That's gentrification. They started, raising the rent, maybe fine people that are outside vendors. Like there was no more. There are no more outside vendors, and people that sell specific items. Well, people are not. Hispanics maybe they didn't feel comfortable going to that place anymore. And that's why business started slowing down. And so as a business owner, you're like, well, why the hell am I here paying so much rent where I can just go and rent a little spot at a Swami where I'm gonna get that clientele that I once had here, that walk in traffic. And so it's a rolling, a ball, what's it called, a snowball effect. And then after that, obviously you have people with different likes and interests moving in. There was a CD, not CD player, old school record uh, player, CDs, whatever you call those, record players, yeah, store. And that was unheard of, and it it grabbed me to the attention. And I was like, okay, well, let me do my research on where do I stand on this, because I think I'm part of the problem. I do go to these overpriced coffee shops, and I am providing my dollar and going to these places, and is it a good thing or a bad thing? And I just kind of started thinking, and I started watching some videos and some articles on gentrification, the pros and the cons. Um, is it is it really people that are trying to make the community better, or in the process, um, is really just displacing people again, and that social and financial inequality kicks in, and now we got people that make more money. They were saying their credit scores are higher. They maybe more education, whatever the case may be. Now they move in, and now these other individuals are now feel unwelcome in their own old community. Um, I don't know. I have mixed thoughts. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I don't know. I don't know if you guys have seen that in your community. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, and part of me says, well, for instance, East LA, there's a place called Boyle Heights, and at some point, man, Boyle Heights was horrible, man. It was just dirty and extremely um, packed, and homeless, and etc. etc. And again, in the pursuit of a coffee shop, my wife and I ended up going to East LA in Boyle Heights, and we were like, where are the homeless? Where are the dirty streets? This particular area was very clean. It had, we went to that bougie coffee shop, and there was like art galleries, and there was, I can't remember what, there was like vegan places and all this other stuff, and we're like, this is nice to lay. She's like, yeah, this is Boyle Heights. I was like, what? And it was a play, it was in the area of Boyle Heights. Obviously, we drove around and then we saw some other more, I guess, areas that I am used to, which is a lot of cars parked in the street, a little bit dirty, graffiti, things of that nature. And I said, that's crazy that the community doesn't care to live like this, and look at the difference over there. Like, how is it that a homeless person knows? Oh, I can kick it on this side of the stop sign, but I'm not gonna go over there because I'm gonna going to get kicked out. Um, and people know that, okay, well, on that side of the street I can't park in red, but on my side I'm still gonna park on red even though it's red. And so I said, maybe this whole displacing of people is not horrible, because I mean, it's if you're not willing to move up in your community, it kind of sucks. I mean, there's some houses in Santa Ana, and even here where I live, in Orange County, that are the Craftsman style. They're old school, and they have so much potential. I mean, those houses are gorgeous, but the homeowners are not taking care of them. There's no, obviously there's no HOA or, union or whatever you want to call them. To tell them, like, hey, you have to maintain your house. And so the houses look really beat down, the communities look horrible, the streets are full of cars. And again, I'll raise my hand and say that I'm part of the problem. So, obviously I live in apartments, and an apartment, and I have, 3 cars between my wife and I. Who in the hell, needs 3 cars? um, so I get that part, but at the same time I think it's almost like, uh, it's such a disservice to those beautiful communities that could be but are not. And but then you look at the other side. Well, one of the articles and videos that I was watching said, that they asked the question, is gentrification a bad thing? And the gentleman answered with, it can be if the person who's moving into that community sees the people that are already there as a threat, and is not willing to adapt to their culture or their sense of living, right? So I'm not even gonna use white or brown. I'm just gonna say, let's say myself. If I was to move into that 4th Street, and I'm Hispanic, obviously that has to be taken into consideration. But I move there, and then all of a sudden I see a thread, like the people selling outside. I see, you know, I don't know, I loud music or whatever the case may be, and I happen to call the police because I don't agree with that. Then I think I am, somewhat of a problem to the people that live there already. But if I come in and I say, well, let me try the street vendor, instead of calling the police on them, I tried. I'm giving my dollar to them. Then guess what? Now I am being part of the culture. I am. I'm still gonna be quote unquote educated. I'm still gonna be, a positive citizen to the community. But now I am taking their own culture into account, and I'm introducing it, and it's not a threat to me. And that's the way the gentleman answered. He's like, well, that's a problem. A lot of people move into these communities and they see it as a threat. They see, like, oh, that's not something that I like, so I'm gonna call the police, or I'll go to my city council. They actually do go to those meetings because they're like, my taxes are paying for it, or I don't feel safe, so I'm gonna call the police, as opposed to the people maybe they didn't feel safe but they just let it go. They don't call the police, or people that move into these places, they see that the sidewalk is red and somebody parked there, so I'm gonna call the parking enforcement. As before, somebody who lived there, they're hoping that somebody else will do it. Well, it's in red, but and you just kind of complain, but you don't do nothing about it. And so that's, I think, part of the reason why you start seeing this set of people move into this community, and the community magically gets better, gets cleaner. Again, politically, there's obviously reasons why you would want to continue to grow a downtown type of area like 4th Street, because now you build buildings, vertically, and condos vertically. It's not like the old school way, where, let's see how much land we can know. Now it's like you're building up, so that's going to create more revenue. You're bringing more younger people. We know that, not just millennials, but just younger individuals nowadays, including my wife and I, we're having less kids. We don't want to have kids. We'd rather go and spend our money trying these bougie ass coffee shops somewhere, and that's what we're doing. And I don't know. I don't know if any of these rant made sense to you guys. Let me know what you guys think. Is gentrification a good or a bad thing on from your end? And again, be positive, be very respectful. I really don't think there's a right or wrong answer, because the way somebody else answer, is gentrification a good or bad thing? The gentleman said, well, everybody can focus on the displacement. They use that word, the displacement of people. But what about the businesses that are moving down to that area? What about the money circulating through there, the experiences and the new culture that you're providing to that community that once, like you mentioned, it was homelessness, it was dirtiness, or maybe not homelessness or dirtiness, but it was just there was no businesses. Now people are bringing business. Now the housing is going up, and that allows you to build more equity for either your house or a business, etc. So obviously, all of us are going to choose a way to kind of prove our point. And so I'm not in the game of like, am I right, am I wrong. I just wanted to discuss the topic, and I think that the Washington talks are a great time to discuss them. Just because again, it pushes me and it pushes you to listen to something different than just the same old things. I don't know. I don't like talking about people. I don't like talking about negativity. I don't really watch the news. I like having these type of conversations. Uh, Deep conversations with different people. Like somebody, one of my close friends, I said, "What's up, man?" He didn't even say good morning. He was, "What's up, man?" He's like, "How would you fix homelessness?" I was like, "What? Like, how do you start this conversation?" You even say good morning, but I love that. But anyways, thank you guys for allowing me to share my thoughts and ideas. And as always, man, I really appreciate you guys. And we'll catch you guys in the next Watch and Talk.